Hi, this is Sherry Twalmey. I'm today's moderator for a panel, and we are going to have a perspective on the City of Cottonwood's Riverfront Park Satellite Reclamation Plant, which is now under construction.
It was completely the wrong thing to do, but Mr. Luter and the Mayor Jones at the time, seemed to have fallen in love with it. I'm Bob Oliphant, and I've lived in Cottonwood for about 13 years now. I'm a retired law professor and have been involved in a variety of civic activities since I moved here.
I'm Darrell Smith, and I moved into Cottonwood in year 2000. I've been here 17 years, and I got on the panel of planning and zoning in 2008, and I was there until I applied and was voted on to the City Council in 2009.
The history goes back to October of 2008. It was during a meeting of the City Council, a work session, where the idea of this facility was floated. We discovered the sewer system here services between 4,500 and 5,000 homes and businesses, which is a very small sewer system. We also investigated the capacity. We wanted to know if there was some serious necessity for the facility at Riverfront Park. It became very clear that in terms of capacity, that was not an issue at all. And the city agreed with us eventually. By 2010. They had come around and agreed, yes, capacity was not the issue. What it became was a fight to try and save $13 million. Among other things, we discovered there was $13 million left over in tax money that had been collected after the bonds for the sewer plant had been paid off. So that was a very nice sum. And our view was to keep that money for unexpected problems with the existing sewer plant, to improve the existing sewer plant, to save that money for the future. We asked for public hearings at the very outset. Consistently, Mayor Jones would oppose real public hearing. We wanted a public hearing on the location of the plant. We knew after we studied the history that the land down there had originally been purchased for a sewer plant, but but the people did not want a sewer plant down there. That's why the main plant is up on the hill. We, at one point, circulated a petition. We had 500 signatures opposing the facility at Riverfront Park. It didn't make any difference to the mayor.
The entire project had been mishandled by the council from the beginning. It refused to allow voters to vote on whether to put the plant in Riverfront Park. It failed to seriously explore options and alternatives from independent sources before plowing ahead with it. It was never explained to my satisfaction why this alternative multi-million-dollar plant is needed when the present plant is not operating at anywhere near capacity. Most recently, when the project bid blew up because the company TLC that was allegedly carefully selected said it would cost $15 million or more, the council continued to plow almost $1 million into the design, not knowing whether it would ever be built. I felt it was totally irresponsible at the time.
We did everything that we could. We consulted experts on our own to try and learn everything we could about it. We knew by 2010 that the $5.5 million or $8.5 million figure that they were using was completely unrealistic. The experts we'd talked to, Darrell had found some for us, said that plant, if it would be built the way they want it built, would be 14, 15, much as 17 were some of the estimates. It didn't matter. The project was being fostered by Dan Luter, who headed the water department, promoted consistently by the mayor, and a member of Cohen Van Loo by the name of Knickerbocker, I think it is, consistently was there as the consultant. And when Cohen Van Loo went away, a company that Mr. Knickerbocker was a part of then picked up and ran with the project.
my thoughts on the whole thing were that number one, it was too expensive. Number two, it was not needed. Number three, certain people kept advocating it and kept telling everybody how it was going to be a learning center and everything, and how it was going to bring people to the Verde Valley.
Well, one of the things we did was to try to assess whether there was a need for the facility for the future, for new neighborhoods and things like that. The city eventually agreed with us again that there was no necessity for expanding for the facility because of expansion. In terms of their estimate, they were very clear at the city council meeting on June 14th of 2009. They laid out what the total cost, including the solar panels, was going to be, and that was $8.5 to $9 million at worst. And of course, when we looked into it, that figure did not make any sense. One of the problems is this: when you build a facility of this size, it has to be sustained every month, every year. And what that does is simply put more pressure on homeowners here. And again, this sewer system has a very small number of homeowners and businesses. So it will drive the cost of your monthly sewer fee up. It also has taken away all the money that could be used to upgrade the existing plant. The effluent is still being pumped up the hill, but in terms of what it's going to cost at this point, I don't know for certain. I just know that $13 million is gone. You're going to have to pay every month to sustain this thing, and with a small community with 12,000 inhabitants, 4,500 to 5,000 on the system, it's a terrible investment for them.
So I did an investigation of 10 different communities smaller than the city of Cottonwood, and I brought this up to a special meeting with a private meeting actually, with just the mayor, the vice mayor, Dan Luter, and I believe Mr. Bartosh was there also, and explained to him that what I had found, that even these small communities of 400 or 500, the cost on this was into the millions of dollars, and they had to farm this out to the counties. Also, I brought up the idea that the Goldwater Institute has brought up, that if you have to build this and the cost is there, what about a lease purchase? And immediately that was shot down. They did not even begin to consider the idea of a lease purchase.
If I had a crystal ball, first of all, they have done what they can to try to protect it from I assume, the 500-year flood. It still is close to the Verde River. We're in a world in which the climate is changing, whether we like it or not. We have very large storms, unusual storms, and things like that. So the possibilities of the facility being significantly damaged by water from the Verde River at some point exists. It just exists no matter what you do. It's down there. In terms of its future, it's a nice facility, but it's put a drain on taxpayers, as I've said now 3 or 4 times. It's taken away the kind of security that a small town needs when it's running a big main sewer plant that needs to be upgraded. When you have pumps that are out of date, inefficient, that need to be replaced, all those things come back on the taxpayers. There's no reason for the taxpayers in this case to have their monthly sewer fee increased a penny. They had $13 million in reserve. Why not use it in a way that protects the taxpayers rather than doing something that it's nice, but it's not necessary? It's a big sprinkler, beautiful sprinkler, but we're too small and we just can't afford it.
So the question was asked or stated that supposedly this plant will be finished in the year 2017. I have very serious doubts of that. that it will be completed, and I have very serious doubts it'll be completed in the 11 to 12 million dollar range. I believe it's going to cost more than that. During this process also, Mr. Lueders stated one of the big reasons for this plant was they had to replace the main sewer line from the lift station in Riverfront Park to the main plant. And that was going to cost $1 million. So why not build this plant? And I explained to him, that's like a car needed an oil change for $25 and you're going to replace the engine instead. Doesn't make any sense.